Just to give a quick content warning, this game does cover many dark topics, so viewer discretion is advised. But other than that, please enjoy the video. The games directed by Yoko Taro have always been cult classics. They tend to review decently and retain a very loyal fan base, but don't really seem to sell super well. That was until 2017. Oh my god, that's nearly a decade ago. Oh dear. Time needs to simmer down. That was until 2017's Nier Automata, developed by Platinum Games of Metal Gear Rising and Bayonetta fame. It broke into mainstream popularity and ended up selling, as far as we know by the time of recording, over 10 million units, so it's safe to say it introduced many people to the Nier/Drakengard universe. I haven't played it since the game first released though, so I'm eager to give it another go, dive deep and see what Nier Automata has to offer nearly 10 years later.
Can you hear me now? Still gonna shout it loud, even if our words seem meaningless. It's like I'm carrying the weight of the world. I hope that some way, somehow, that I could save every one of us. But the truth is that I'm only one girl. Maybe if I keep believing, my dreams will come to life. Come to life.
Everything that lives is designed to end. We are perpetually trapped in a never-ending spiral of life and death. Is this a curse? Or some kind of punishment? I often think about the god who blessed us with this cryptic puzzle, and wonder if we'll ever have the chance to kill him.
Well, at least we're establishing the tone quickly. The game begins with 2B, an android and the sole survivor of her squad fighting against these machine lifeforms. The intro serves as a pretty excellent tutorial on both the mech and ground combat. They feel very similar to play, but both feature heavily throughout the game. If you've ever played or watched a Yoko Taro title, you'll know that mixing bullet hell elements with hack and slash gameplay is something he likes to include frequently, and I'd say it's introduced most elegantly in this title. She soon meets up with another character, 9S, with the pair working together to take down a Goliath-class machine. It's set up very swiftly that 2B is a very stoic kind of character, completely focused on her mission with little time for any form of distraction, even hitting the much more curious, sociable 9S with emotions are prohibited, something that'll be a bit of a recurring phrase for her when she wants to shut down certain topics of conversation. Despite what was just said, it's clear that 2B isn't devoid of emotion, with her first instinct being to attempt to save an injured 9S over eliminating a target, and with the pair overrun, they initiate a black box reaction, causing a massive explosion via putting their black boxes together, which is essentially their power source. It cuts to 2B on something called the bunker, the main base that the androids operate in, which is in space. With them being androids, 9S was able to upload their memories to a server so they can inhabit new bodies, and from context clues, this is something that has been done many times before. He was able to upload 2Bs in time, but his memory of their recent interactions have been completely erased. Nier Automata takes place thousands of years after the events of the last game, Nier Replicant. Humanity has been driven to seek refuge on the moon due to being attacked by aliens who created the machines that we fight in-game, and in response, humanity created the androids under the organization known as Yoha to clear the Earth of machine lifeforms to make it livable for mankind. And that's where 2B and 9S come in, android soldiers fighting for humanity. Being artificial life forms, the game takes extreme care on making every setting an in-universe adjustment that the androids perform on themselves, which is a genius little bit of game design. Pretty much everything is customizable and has in-world effects. After a brief aerial combat segment, 2B and 9S are deployed on the ruined city where the vast majority of the game's events take place. Their first order of business is to head to a resistance camp. Along with returning elements from prior games like side quests and different weapons, you can also find chips, items that add certain benefits to gameplay, such as more information being displayed in the HUD and buffs to combats as examples. Keeping with the body being temporary theme, if you happen to die, you have a chance of going back to where you fell to recover the gear that you had on you at the time, but it will vanish if you die again, akin to dying in Souls-likes. Plus, if you have online play enabled, you can find corpses of players and either revive them to temporarily fight alongside you, or retrieve items and XP from them, though you can only have one ally at a time. After a couple of brief side quests to get the player acclimated to both the mechanic of side quests and the setting, you're sent off into the desert to meet another resistance member, brilliantly named Jackass, to who you take care of an outbreak of machines for, some of which are wearing masks which will look very familiar to those who've played Replicant. As they go on, they come across a mass grave of androids, and right after, a gigantic gathering of machines doing this. This game has a lot of little phrases that have gone on to become iconic, one of which being, "This cannot continue," as more and more robots descend on 2B and 9S, eventually combining together to form this humanoid machine of who you see evolve in real time via gameplay, with him gaining levels and taking time to respond to your attacks as the encounter goes on. Another almost identical being spawns out of it at the end of the fight, bringing the structure crashing down and forcing our two androids to escape, with something like this apparently never have been reported in Yoha's history. Something of a staple in the Drakengard series, Nier Automata takes multiple endings to its logical extreme, having a unique ending corresponding with every letter in the alphabet, with the vast majority of them being joke endings. Take this one as an example, where you take out your own operating system chip. After a bit of downtime, the pair are sent to investigate the disappearance of multiple androids, with them coming to this amusement park absolutely filled with robots having a jolly old time. I forgot how eerie the boss area actually was here. This large machine clad in a dress with the combination of using android corpses as accessories in an effort to become more beautiful, and the switch between deranged laughter and screaming make for a really tense battle this early on. I decided to check out the basement after the fight, and these TVs stacked up together really remind me of like Persona 4 imagery. After the battle, the androids are approached by a robot quite literally holding a white flag, claiming to be peaceful, and it wants to take 2B and 9S back to its village to thank them for freeing them, and it's completely telling the truth. This forest village of robots is filled with complete pacifists, led by the kind-hearted Pascal, probably my favourite character in this game. You sick fuck. Despite things seeming to be winding down, all hell breaks loose pretty quickly when multiple Goliaths attack the ruined city, with 2B and 9S destroying them on foot and in their mechs, with the explosion being so fierce that it opens up a gigantic hole underground, to the lair of the aliens, of which there hadn't been any intel on their activity up to this point. In doing some side quests, I accidentally stumbled into said underground lair. The two humanoid machines, named Adam and Eve, kindly explained that the aliens have long since died off, destroyed by their own creations due to said creations becoming uninterested in them, as they apparently were extremely basic in terms of their cognitive functions, leading to the machines to take an interest in humanity instead. But that's all the pair have time for, and just decide to fuck off. You're supposed to go to the bunker after this, but I decided to do some more side quests instead since fast travel is now vastly more accessible. And most of them have been on the more comedic or mundane side up to this point. For example, stamp collecting at the theme park with a very fun rendition of Romeo and Juliet.
Be gone from this world forever, wench. Please let go, wretched man. Piss it off. My Romeos are no more. I have slain them each and all. I must join them anon.
But the quest 11B's Memento is the first one that really sat with me. You're tasked with getting the weapon of another Yoha unit, since the weapons can store the android's memory data, and when you backtrack to the first arena in the prologue, you learn that she was fully intending on deserting, but happened to be shot down during the mission. Her nonchalant attitude soon turning into panic desperation after she learns that she's been cut off from the bunker and is unable to repair herself, fully staring permanent death in the face for presumably the first time. And when returning to the bunker to let the quest giver 16D know, we're given the option to keep this information from her or reveal the truth. The former lets us know that the pair were in a relationship, but in the latter, 16D tells us that the relationship was quite abusive, and that she's almost relieved that her partner's now gone, ending the quest on quite the eerie note. Checking in on Pascal again, he tells 2B and 9S about other robots cut off from the network, machines that have attempted to make their own nation, dubbed the Forest Kingdom. Although unlike Pascal's village, these machines turn aggressive if anyone gets close to their turf. In what used to be a shopping centre, we get to see a very familiar face.
Huh? Hey, where am I?
What's that?
Hey there, guys. What's up?
This thing's weird, 2B. Let's kill it.
Wait, what? No!
Good idea.
No!
Okay, what was that?
Seems like he survived from the events of the original Nier up till now, because we knew from the events of that game Emil was effectively immortal, but we'll discuss his role in Automata more in depth later. Speaking of the original game, I don't think that it is, given its added scale, but the general environment, and in particular the library here, feels very reminiscent of Nier's village from Replicant. There's been a lot of recurring world elements from that game to Automata, for example the junk heap and the desert, being, well, the desert. A later area called the Flooded City is a little bit reminiscent of Seafront, but that's only really because of the water. The Forest Kingdom and the Forest of Myth. And I guess Pascal's village is a little bit like the Airy, only really because they're houses on slightly elevated platforms, although one's on the side of the cliff and another one's like on a big tree. It's reminiscent anyway. The game has started to sow seeds of doubt in how just Yora's crusade really is, emphasised most with a prior quest where you're sent to initially capture some deserters, which very quickly turns into an execution. Part of the reason for the hostility being the reports of them stealing valuable supplies from resistance camps, only for that to not be the case at all, and when 9S presses his operator about the situation, he's completely cut off. I mention this since fellow deserter A2 tells the androids that Command are the ones that betrayed her, not the other way around, after a brief battle with her, and further information about her desertion is classified when 9S again tries to press the subject. A military command hiding ulterior motives behind supposedly classified information on a need-to-know basis? That's how you know this world is fictional. That would never happen. Since we found Emil earlier, he can now be seen zipping about in random parts of the world, and shooting him allows you to buy items off him, as well as a pretty long side quest called Emil's Memories. As you can guess by the name, Emil's memories are extremely fuzzy, but finding lunar tears seem to recall bits and bobs of his past, which is very bittersweet if you're aware of the significance in Nier Replicant. And when you find one in the world, pieces of his past will start to come back together for him. But on a lighter note, eating a mackerel you get from Jackass will instantly kill you. And this is another ending. It's probably my favourite of the joke endings. I just like our last thoughts being, it was pretty damn tasty. I'll talk more about A2 in detail later, but a side quest at the factory reveals more about her past. She was part of an operation known as the Pearl Harbor Descent, which Anemone back at the Resistance camp also took part in. And it seems like a minor detail in like the extended universe, but it's actually been adapted into a manga and was a pretty important story arc in the anime adaptation. But as for what's happening in-game, an enemy just can't believe that the person she fought alongside is now a deserter and a traitor. Moving on for now, we've got a new accessible area that I mentioned previously, the Flooded City. But there isn't really much time to explore since an emergency attack means 2B and 9S are called as backup.
You see? Total slave driver. Whoopsh.
It's a pretty involved mech boss that concludes with 9S launching a big fuck-off missile right into the target's mouth, resulting in a blast that separates 2B and 9S, and after being passed out for 8 hours, which is just kind of real, she gets right back into the action and starts searching for her missing comrade. It's not going well at first, but she then gets a detector for black box signals from 2 very familiar red-headed androids, Deviler and Popola, though obviously not the same Deviler and Popola we see in Nier Replicant, given what happens to them in that game. This leads to the discovery of the Copied City, a sleek white area that's just filled with android corpses, and the music and environmental design alone has caused this place to become a kind of iconic area in Nier Automata, with a little help from a certain mystery that I will discuss later. It's quickly revealed that Adam created the Copied City to better understand humans, as well as being the one responsible for placing the android corpses here, and that he kidnapped and for some reason crucified 9S to bait 2B into fighting him. He explains that he's cut himself off from the network to experience real life and death stakes, which just goes dreadfully for him, and I've always wondered, did he believe that there was like next to no chance of him losing, or was he genuinely doing this for the love of the game? Anyway, after a quick joke ending in which 2B pulls a my dad and goes for milk, she picks up 9S to take him back to safety. She'll need to make do without him for a bit while he's being repaired by command, so in the meantime she's been tasked with investigating further machine activity as Adam oversaw half of the machine network, so his absence has caused them to go a little bit kooky. She agrees to meet Pascal to discuss a peace treaty with some more independent machines, and I like that you can clearly tell that 2B's icy exterior is melding somewhat. She clearly cares for 9S more than just being what is essentially co-workers, given both her concern and rage in the boss fight that we just had, and she seems to genuinely enjoy interacting with Pascal, and who wouldn't, because he is an absolute delight. But before we get to that, thanks to a side quest in the desert, we get the confirmation that this area is what became of the Kingdom of Facade, and seeing relics of the past with Replicant in mind just makes it all the more sad, but at the same time, little signs that Freya has been remembered throughout history is just nice. It turns out that the machines in the factory have discovered religion, creating another one of their small, enduring phrases.
His wondrous grace has become a god. His wondrous grace has become a god. His wondrous grace has become a god. We as well shall become as gods. We as well shall become as gods. All of you shall become as gods. All of you shall become as gods. All of you shall become as gods. We'll all die together and become as gods.
Oh dear. Damn it. I was right.
And I find it quite interesting that them discovering religion has caused them to freak out. Notice the red tint in their eyes too in the cutscene. The majority of the machines are just berserk, whereas the rest are confused and terrified. 9S comes in clutch to secure an escape route for 2B and Pascal, via some remote hacking, and the juxtaposition of the eerie walk back to the outside, seeing the robots willingly jump in the lava, compared to the mad, animalistic slaughter we just saw, was genuinely creeping me out a bit. Once back outside, the game cuts to Eve grieving over Adam's death and vowing revenge, and the instant his eyes start to turn red, his chest grows a tattoo resembling the logo for the Cult of the Watchers. And I didn't appreciate this on my first playthrough back in the day, but knowing what I do now, I wonder, given how similar the machines with red glints in their eyes act to those infected with red eye disease in the Drakengard games, have they copied this from historical records, or does God, the Queen Beast, whatever you want to call it, have influence this far-reaching that it's affected mechanical beings tens of thousands of years into the future? There's not really any time to ponder this though, as a distress call from an enemy comes through about the resistance camp being under attack. And yeah, everything's gone to shit. Higher level machines seem to spawn infinitely the entire way over, and it's just absolute carnage and bloodshed, so it's up to 2B to clean up this mess. Or not. But the reason for the rampage is Eve launching an attack, so he's combined with a bunch of machines and becomes the boss fight. Beyond all reasoning, he wants to see everything destroyed after losing Adam, and this fight takes everything 2B and 9S have. They eventually succeed with their combined skills, but hacking into the machine network caused 9S to be infected with the logic virus, giving him the same red eyes we've seen both in Automata and prior titles. And with no time to cure him or upload his current self to the bunker, 2B is forced to choke him out in this tragic scene.
It always ends like this.
It's not all doom and gloom though, since it's quickly shown 9S used the machine's network to back up his consciousness, keeping his quote-unquote self that has grown so close to 2B. The game ending on 2B's acknowledgement that machines have fully gained sentience like the androids have, being the ending of Route A. You'll be familiar with this concept if you've played other Yoko Taro games or watched any videos I've covered on them, and like I mentioned with the joke endings, but this game features multiple routes, and in Nier Automata they aren't all just joke endings, as this route is titled Flowers for Machines, and it gives the player the chance to replay the game in an entirely new perspective. Route B opens up on a robot trying to stir his fallen brother back to life with oil, but it doesn't work as 9S kind of smugly points out, like a bit of an asshole. And it's quickly revealed why Route B is worth the playthrough. You control him instead of 2B all throughout. He plays quite similarly to her, but he has his own unique gimmick. Hacking. By holding Y or triangle, instead of a heavy attack like 2B does, you go into this bullet hell minigame with a time limit, conveying the hacking he does to overtake or disable whatever machine he needs to at the time. Getting to see that first battle with the Goliath machines from 9S's point of view really just goes to show how far he'll go to help 2B. It's hard to appreciate when you're in the middle of a battle against a giant fucking mech, but he really goes the extra mile, bless him. Once you touch down on Earth though, you're immediately greeted with another feature exclusive to 9S. Those chests 2B couldn't access with the locks on. They're all for 9S to hack, meaning already explored areas are still worth rummaging through for extra goodies. Luckily you retain everything you got from Route A, including side quest progression. All throughout the events that we're already familiar with, you'll get little bits of extra exposition to further establish the world, and give some characters that didn't have much going on in Route A more of a chance to shine, and I love this edition. Not to harp on about it since it was a remaster of an older title, so it's not really super fair to compare to, but more things like this were what I was hoping for in the Nier Replicant remaster's extra routes. Don't get me wrong, it did that at times, but I think that, combined with a new player character, makes the perspective feel fresher here. This is emphasised soonest with the rematch with Simone, the singing machine, at the amusement park. We now get understanding as to why it's done what it has up to this point. It was all for the attention of another machine it fell in love with. This love was unrequited though, so it attempted to become more appealing, adding flashier parts, learning to sing, and eventually eating androids and fellow machine lifeforms based on a rumour. It hated every second of it, but it would endure for the sake of the one she loved, only for it to never acknowledge its love back, causing Simone to lose its mind. On another note, I'm genuinely glad 9S has some side quests exclusive to him and it's not all just 2B's leftovers. His amount of quests really opens up after the two Goliaths literally open up the city ruins, though.
Well, aren't we generous? All this help for no personal gain? I know she's pretty, but...
Oh, whoa. It's not like that. I mean, she is pretty, but it's not...
whatever.
Ooh. Some standout side quests for 9S are the Wise Machines, robots that ignore you and look out to scenery, but hacking them will reveal that they're having a bit of an existential crisis, culminating with one of them deeming their endless cycle of violence too much to bear and jumping. And honestly, with how unironically heartfelt this speech was delivered, it got to me a little bit. I had no idea what to expect from these guys, so it really caught me off guard. Another really good one is the one where 2B gets jealous that I just referenced. It's a murder mystery where a Resistance member wants to find out who murdered their friend, and after 9S investigates, it turns out that she's the murderer. Her friend was a deserter, and the client was in fact a Your Heart android, type E for Executioner, which seems to get a startled reaction from 2B. Unable to deal with the pain of what she's done, the client chose to erase her own memories of the event, and being reminded of what she's done just seems to break her. And although I don't think it's 9S exclusive, a more involved side quest named The Wandering Couple is pretty standout too. A pair of lovers who deserted the Resistance are hiding in Pascal's village and need various materials and money to try and smuggle themselves away, only for it to turn out that the woman wanted the man's memory erased so she can try and turn him into her ideal man, despite it being clear that him erasing his memory was a genuine sacrifice he was making for her, and not because he wanted to. The dialogue after the event genuinely made me gasp too, like, shit was fucked, and I was not prepared for it. Progressing the story, you get flashbacks on the formation of the Forest Kingdom. A group of outcast robots decided to claim this land for themselves, acting as one big extended family, and that act of kindness from the king led the knights to decide to protect the land and his child with their lives.
Operator 210 to 9S. This is your regularly scheduled contact.
Yeah, no problems here.
Copy that. I also need to inform you that the commander offers her personal praise for your recent achievements. As a direct result, we are currently considering boosting production of your model.
Really? I'm happy to hear it. I couldn't have done it without your support, Operator. You're always so cool under fire, not to mention beautiful and...
Flattery is unnecessary. Operator 210 out.
I really meant it, though.
Oh, bless him. I decided to finish up the Emil's Memories questline that I forgot about in Route A. The only lunatia that's actually really annoying to get to is the one in the desert, but when you come across them, slowly but surely Emil will start to recover some of his memories, eventually giving you a key to what is presumably his home. I'm not sure if it's styled to look like it or it is the actual place, but it's kinda his shack seen in the original Nier. Emil explains he's one of many, as he had to split himself to fight the aliens, hence his weird behaviour and his memory loss, but he knows this is somewhere the original Emil treasured, planting countless lunatias in honour of his friends over the years, and him telling this while Kaine's theme is playing in the background is such an emotional gut punch, man, it's so good. The battle against the giant machine in the sea plays out mostly the same, but the interesting addition comes after everyone gets separated. The AMP blast seems to have put 9S into the machine's network somehow, and Adam catches wind of it and psychologically tears 9S down, ending with the infamous... Now this is important to the point the music abruptly cuts itself off, so it's meant to be shocking. Now the word's asterisked. From what I've been able to gather online though, the consensus seems to be one of two words. The less likely in my opinion, You know what it is. Come on. It's fuck. That, like, everyone knows that. But the issue with this interpretation is that it's the same 4-character asterisk in the Japanese version, and as far as I'm aware, there's not a translatable 4-letter word that matches fuck. The more likely answer, though, seems to be kill. Now, this may seem questionable at first, but given some knowledge from later on in the story, this would make sense for 9S's character overall. It goes through the remaining events up to Eve's attack pretty rapid fire, but that's not to say more plot details aren't sprinkled in. Before 9S assists 2B at the factory, he goes through Yoha's servers during maintenance, only to discover really odd details, like the contents of the shipments being brought to the moon is mostly empty aside from a couple of spare parts, and that Yoha created the Council of Humanity, rather than the other way around like it's always been stated, as well as the machine network in the factory having multiple records of something familiar to those who've played the original Nier or watched any videos on it. Ideally mine, shameless plug, namely the research on Project Gestalt. The commander then spills everything, that humanity has been extinct for countless years now, before the aliens had even discovered Earth. The Council of Humanity, the purpose for the androids' fight, everything has been a complete fabrication. But before 9S can even begin to process this information, a state of emergency is called, so he has to dash back to Earth to assist 2B. The final fight with Eve plays pretty similarly to Route A, albeit a lot easier, with the second phase being replaced with a hacking segment where it shows Eve didn't particularly care about fighting, he just wanted to be with Adam. Things play out the same in the ending scene, with the sole addition of 2 mysterious figures eerily watching over 2B choking out 9S, giving the player ending B. Or not to be. You play as 2B extremely briefly during the credits to get some items off of 9S. It's clear he wants to tell 2B about everything he's learned, but he chooses to stay silent for now. However, there's still more game left to go. Route C takes place almost immediately where A and B left off. With the deaths of Adam and Eve, Yoha chooses to launch a full-scale attack on the machine lifeforms. You start off as 9S doing some reconnaissance, and his operator is starting to talk to him in a more silly, almost motherly tone, which was quite funny to me, because I forgot that she did this because I'm so used to her very strict matter-of-fact tone to contrast with his more relaxed character, whereas 2B's operator is the one who's kinda goofy and outgoing, whereas she's straight to the point. I also forgot about the new music that plays in the city ruins here. It's a bit of a banger, honestly. It cuts quickly to 2B, who joins 9S on Earth to commence in the operation, and it is absolute pandemonium in the best way possible. There are machines going ham everywhere, you're accompanied by ragtag groups of androids you happen to save, but things just go from bad to worse when most allies are completely overtaken by the logic virus. Pulling a very similar move to the start of the game, 2B and 9S take them all out via their black boxes. But the bunker offers no respite. Speaking through the virus itself and the possessed androids, the machines reveal in these extremely creepy, shifting voices that every member of Yoha is infected. And something I don't get, but why would the commander not believe 2B and 9S right away? They've done literally everything she's asked of them, no question. Is she stupid? The only reason that 2B and 9S haven't succumbed to the virus is that 9S didn't finish syncing their data due to the weird noises he heard when snooping about Yoha's database when he was uncovering everything about Project Yoha and the truth of the Council of Humanity. They try to get the commander to safety too, however it's for naught as she's infected. Maybe that's why she was acting like a dumbass a minute ago. Poor gal's got the brain rot, bless her. Though she does make up for it by ordering 2B and 9S to escape and survive, going down with the ship, so to speak, so can't be too harsh on her, I guess. 2B essentially uses herself as bait to give 9S a chance to escape, despite his protests, but she's got more pressing things to worry about, as she's also been infected with the virus, and I can remember really struggling to get past this bit on my first playthrough back in the day on PS4. I have no clue why, but I could just not get to the required point in time for the life of me. I just kept dying over and over and over. Once you make it to the bridge that connects to the abandoned shopping mall, 2B is about to be cut down by rogue androids, only to be saved by A2 of all people. And with no options left, she entrusts A2 to carry on in her stead. Given the virus, 2B is about to die anyway, so A2 puts her out of her misery to avoid fully losing herself to the infection. And of course, 9S walks in on this at the worst possible time and has a bit of a mentee bee. He's gunning for A2, considering as far as he knows, he's just killed his best friend and love interest, in cold blood. But gigantic structures rising from the ground destroy the bridge that he's on, banishing him to the abyss for a much needed time out. It cuts to the pods 2 weeks later discussing what to do next, and they agree to continue providing support for the respective androids, and the player gets to decide to continue as either A2 or 9S. I decided to go for A2, but you play as both throughout this route, so don't worry about missing any content. Given that 2B is out of the picture now, her pod, 042, now accompanies A2, much to her dismay. She's got no real objective other than destroying machines, and after some unintentional?
Proposal. Unit A2 should state her intentions.
What did I just say?
If an attending support unit is not provided with data related to the activity of its target, it is programmed to automatically repeat the request every 30 seconds until such data is made available.
Are you kidding me?
Proposal. Unit A2 should state her intentions. Needlessly repeating conversations on the same topic is a waste of energy resources.
You're the one who keeps talking. Whoa, what's that?
Unknown.
You're useless.
Rage baiting from Pod and a nasty EMP blast, her memories have merged with the machines she was fighting, and 2B's, as well as her own past trauma, and it's clearly taken its toll on her. You'll occasionally get prompted to play as the other android or continue the one you chose, but I'd personally recommend mixing between the two, but you'll experience everything either way. 9S wakes up at the resistance camp, having been looked after by Deviler and Popola. The game this point on will take a noticeably more dour tone, which isn't a complaint, it's very fitting given the events that we've seen. But I think one of the biggest examples of this change in tone is the Gathering Flowers side quest. A resistance camp member asks 9S to check and see if his comrades are still alive after they got separated, and if they're not, to gather a memento. You travel all over and collect dog tags, giving it back to the man when he starts to then bury them by some flowers. And when 9S questions him on this, he explains that it's a human ritual that he read about. You'd think that's the end of the quest, but 9S mumbles to himself about some flowers in 2B, and there's really only one place I could think of in response to this.
I'm not quite sure what it means to mourn. Or even if we have a soul to concern ourselves with. But I hope you're at rest, 2B. Sweet dreams. I'll be with you before long.
This shit genuinely had me tearing up, man. Fucking hell. He goes to investigate this massive tower, but can't hack into it, though he can get into other large towers that are now dotted all over the world. The first reading Meatbox in Angelic, which is the language seen in the Drakengard games. He makes his way to the top and destroys the core, which constantly begs for help as his mental state continues to deteriorate.
Mods, crush the skull, thank you.
and we cut back to A2, who's in desperate need of maintenance after a battle with the massive machine in the desert, and lucky for her, the goat Pascal has come in clutch despite her being so mean to him. Leave my poor boy be. He's a good man. We come to learn that A2 and an enemy have history, having been part of the event I mentioned called the Pearl Harbor descent a while back, a traumatic operation where the aforementioned androids were the only survivors, with A2 carrying an immense amount of survivor's guilt as a result. And the reason why Yorha say that she betrayed them is because they sent her squad out to be cannon fodder, essentially, to see what would happen. They had no intention of any of them coming out of that alive, and because A2 managed to survive, they had to spin a narrative so she couldn't come back to tell the story about Yorha's real intentions. There's enough to understand what happened here, but this text-only backstory has been adapted numerous times, firstly seen in a stage play, then a manga adaptation, and finally a pretty lengthy arc in the Nier Automata anime. I've yet to read the manga, but I have seen both the anime and the stage play. All of them make some changes to the story, both major and minor, but I've got to say the anime version has to be my personal favourite of this small part of Automata's lore. I won't go further in depth on the changes here, but maybe an iceberg covering Nier/Drakengard lore might be in the cards if people are interested, when I decide I want to do it. Gameplay-wise, A2 is almost identical to 2B, having a bit of a different dodge, but she does have one feature to set her apart. B mode, or Berserker mode. It increases her damage greatly at the cost of her health and defense, acting akin to Devil Trigger or Wicked Weaves and Devil May Cry or Bayonetta respectively, especially fitting for the latter considering it was developed by Platinum. It's fine, but I think the 3 seconds you need to stand still to activate it is a bit unneeded considering it constantly drains your health anyway, so that's fair enough payoff in my view. Despite her acting like she'd rather be anywhere else, you can tell A2's got a soft spot for the machines of Pascal's village, only for that to be ripped away in, minutes. Pascal contacts A2 in immense distress, and by the time you get to the village, it's an inferno with machines eating each other. A2 clears out the rabbit machines and meets Pascal at the factory with the children. A2 does what she can, but up against a literal army, she can only accomplish so much. That is until once again, the king, Pascal, comes in clutch with a huge fucking kaiju battle against another machine. Clearing them all out to defend the kids of his village. But by the time the two can get back to the children, it's too late. Pascal taught them every single thing he knew about emotions, including fear, and being left to stew in their own terror was just way too much for the little robots to handle. Distraught at what he's inadvertently caused, he begs A2 for help, and the player is left with 3 choices. 1. Kill Pascal and put an end to his heartbreak. 2. Erase his memory of recent events completely. Or lastly, just walk out and leave him up to his own devices. I love that technically there's no wrong choices here. It's completely up to the player and whatever they believe is the right thing to do in this scenario. Yeah, okay, I lied. There is a worse choice for the Pascal scenario. You'd think just erasing his memories would be the objectively best thing to do for him, but if you go back to the village, you'll see him sell the body parts of the machine children without a care in the world, since he has no clue who they are. As far as he's aware, it's just scrap parts that are just lying around, so you might as well make some sort of use out of them. And the worst part is, this is required if you want to get every weapon in the game for one of the endings. God damn, Yoko Taro, who hurt you? Anyway, on to the next resource unit, named the Soul Box. Interestingly, there's not a single enemy to be found here. It's all hacking chests to advance to the top, but it's clear that the machines are just fucking with 9S at this point, providing him with information with the intent of breaking him down even further. In particular, the reveal of just what the black box is. the core of the androids, arguably what makes up who they are, it's just made of spare machine parts, meaning ultimately, machine lifeforms and androids are one and the same. And this tactic is certainly working. His mental state is declining rapidly, culminating with them threatening to corrupt his memories, with him stabbing the core that shifts between a blurry outline, the actual core, and 2B's body. The constant battling is taking a toll on him physically too, however, with Deviler and Popola having to heal him, and reminding him that 2B wouldn't want him dying alone, although he doesn't really seem to pay this much mind. As soon as 9S enters the final unit, called the God Box, it cuts back to A2, who, with nothing better to do with her time, also travels to the God Box, and I really like to think the only reason she went is because she wanted the special prize that was announced by the androids. She's just running around not caring about anything else aside from getting a little treat. That's a really funny mental image. The game will frequently cut between the two androids when reaching specific segments, and in contrast to the previous box, this one is quite combat-centric, with 9S soon having to fight his former operator, who secretly underwent alterations so she could fight on the front lines, only to be MIA a few short hours later. She's forced to fight 9S, with A2 saving his life via killing Operator 210, although her slaying yet another person he cares for only further fuels his absolute disdain for her, regardless of context. She tells him that 2B wanted 9S to become a good person, again just pissing him off more for bringing her up, and the two get separated. But with all three keys gained, 9S can now access the tower in the city ruins. Due to him trying to get in, it's gained the attention of countless machines, but before they're able to act against him, Deviler and Popola rock up to help, but it's no use. 9S is unable to fully gain access to the tower's systems, and the twins forcefully take over and shove 9S inside, leaving their fate up to the machines. You get the choice of viewing their backstory now or later, but I don't think there's a better time to go over it than now. Due to the actions of the Deviler and Popola we saw in Nier Replicant, all models were blamed for the failure of Project Gestalt and the extinction of humanity. Thus, they were the perfect targets to be persecuted. Even though they weren't the specific versions of the twins, they decided to take the abuse because they have programming that engineers feelings of personal guilt and responsibility in regards to the project. But they endure because they have each other. I didn't have any major feelings about the twins in the original Nier. I thought they were fine, but the added depth in this version of Deviler and Popola in Automata greatly improved them as characters in my opinion. As I'm sure you can guess, the special prize is more mental torture! With 9S pitted against dozens of 2B models. Meanwhile, A2's made her way to the tower, spotting Deviler and Popola by the door, letting her know that 9S is already inside, with their main concern being if they manage to help, with A2 letting them know that they date in their presumably final moments. There's just no happy ending, there's just no happy scenario with these twins, bless them. She progresses further, ending up in a reconstruction of the library that we saw in the original Nier, and with Pod's help, she's able to hack in and see the data the machines have gathered, including data in relation to Yona and the Shadow Lord, the Gestalt of Nier, from Nier Replicant, if you remember. Before she can really process any of this information, though, she's attacked by a massive machine, and speaking of that, I find it really interesting that because of Nier's actions, his name isn't remembered, obviously due to the actions of ending D, he's not remembered, but the Shadow Lord is, and him being, like, the downfall of humanity, indirectly, is remembered, like, that's crazy. Like, imagine being remembered as the direct cause of humanity's extinction just because you wanted to save your sister. Shit's crazy. We then see the aftermath of 9S's battle. The explosion caused him to lose his arm, and he decides to use one of the 2B's arms as a replacement. Being constructs created by the machines, though, he's infected with the virus, of which he's mostly able to restore himself, although notably 95% restored. His torment is by no means over, as the Red Girls the Machine Network takes the form of reveals that Yorha has always meant to be disposed of, again speaking in that eerie switch from a young female voice to an older male one, calling back to Mana and Drakengard 1. The network tries to also psychologically break A2, but Pod discovers something interesting. By not attacking the Red Girls, the network multiplies on its own, eventually overloading its own system and creating divide within itself. Part of it wants to keep the androids alive to get more data via overcoming increasing hardship, while the other one wants to eliminate any prominent threat, and being unable to reach an outcome, it begins to attack itself. A2 and 9S are forced to work together to overcome another large machine, but this truce doesn't last, as once it's destroyed, 9S is dead set on killing A2. She does try to reason with him, stating that they need to act to stop the tower from launching an attack on the server on the moon, but given what 9S knows about humanity's extinction, the fact that Yorha units were designed to eventually be killed off, and his relationship with 2B, or rather, her true title, 2E, that she was always meant to execute him when he learned too much. Despite A2 telling him how much pain it caused her, he just doesn't care, and orders the pods not to interfere until the confirmation of one of their deaths. The player has a choice to make between 9S and A2. I'm picking 9S here, and I can remember really struggling fighting A2 when I first played. I have no clue why, since it took me like 2 seconds here. I was probably underleveled anyway. A2's about to kill him, but she gets a flashback of 2B asking her to take care of him, of which 9S takes advantage of, stabbing her, but being the silly Billy that he is, lands on her sword and accidentally stabs himself. Don't you hate it when that happens, am I right, boys? In his final moments, he reflects on his life up until now, and ends up meeting Adam and Eve. The former asks if he would like to go with them, with all their data being rocketed into space. The choice doesn't affect the ending, bar a couple of lines of dialogue, but I personally believe 9S would choose to stay, believing that Yorha and the cycle of endless slaughter between himself and 2B needs to end here. This is Ending D, Childhood's End, and your reward is having a chapter select available, so I want to square away a few things before we move on. So unlike every other Yoko Taro game covered on the channel, getting every weapon isn't a requirement for all the narrative important endings, but it is key to getting Ending Y. I'd say 90% of the weapons are easy to obtain, however the hardest comes from Emil's shop. He'll randomly spawn at certain points on the map, and depending on where he is, he'll sell you different things. I don't know why, but he only sells weapons near the resistance camp, where he just never seemed to spawn for me, and when doing research, it seemed to be a common problem for people. So to save you guys a lot of headache, the easiest way to make him go there is to talk to him near the desert camp, then go to a save point and fast travel to the city ruins near the factory, talk to him there again, and travel to the save point near the tower, run to the resistance camp, and he should be there. He showed up for me first time, and when getting other materials that are rarer, he was pretty reliably there too. So now we've got all the obtainable weapons with just one exception. I knew it was at Emil's house, so I kept going to the underground section with all the Lunateers, but this isn't Emil's home like I first thought, however. For that, you need to go in a pipe in the middle of the ruins and descend down this gigantic tunnel structure, and to be honest, up until researching for this video, I had no clue this place even existed in-game. Going through an entirely unexplored area paired with the music really made me think on how much hidden, tucked away content Nier Automata has to offer, and it made me think of the church incident from a while back considering the music choice, so I might as well explain what that is now. So to sum up, for those who don't know, a few years ago a random question popped up on the Nier subreddit about a church door, and when prompted further, a video surfaced of a random secret door in the copied city that led to a spiral corridor that really reminds me of that one bit in the Forest Temple from Ocarina of Time. Anyway, this led to an altar with a figure with a flower in its chest, a bird bath, and a seemingly crying blob figure. If you have any knowledge on Nier Replicant and its lore, it's pretty clear what this is representing. For a while, that was all we had, until the poster, Sad Futago, went back to the place's 9S as it contained a locked chest, and when it was opened, it showed the medical file for Yona and caused the blob figure to attack. Again, for a while, this was all the community had to go off of, and a consensus couldn't be reached on if this was fan-made, scrapped content that accidentally made it in, or some sort of guerrilla marketing tactic for a new Nier title. Eventually, a live stream showed the truth. After beating the blob figure and interacting with the bird bath and giving the answers leading to the Shadow Lord in Nier, the player would be transported to this dim underground area, illuminated only by a flower, with chained figures of women on the ceiling, clearly being Zero and the other intoners, and interacting with the flower would have you fight copies of Zero, and when you win, the final music piece of Drakengard 3 plays with Zero and Mikhail's final conversation together, showing that this was indeed a very elaborate and well-crafted mod. I will say, on the part of the wider community not being able to reach a decision when it was first revealed, a bit of blame can be put on Lance McDonald, with him saying it was impossible to mod Nier Automata in this way, and people, myself included, kinda just taking his word at face value because, hey, he discovered the cheat code near the start of the game. I'll talk about that later as well, don't worry. This by no means is like me calling anyone out or anything. I really like his videos, actually. I'm just not sure why we let one person make a sweeping statement and just go, yeah, when it turned out to not be the case at all. But tangent over, I just needed to mention this at some point in the video because it's cool, even if briefly. Once you reach Emil's home, you find an item next to the row of Emil heads that you'll be warned to not steal, but you just need to ignore it and pick the mask up anyway. Talk to Emil on the surface again, and he'll tell you he stored all his valuables in a secure box. You'll need to return to his home as 9S so you can hack into said box, and this will prompt a boss fight with Emil. Being an optional super boss, he's level 99 and insanely tough, so you have to be like mid-80s minimum to make any sort of dent in him, but grinding to get to max level didn't sound super appealing to me, so just for his fight I switched to easy mode and back and managed to take him down, being around mid-70s as 9S. And after maxing out every weapon, you get access to a brand new side quest, Emil's Determination, and you can do this with any of the androids, but since I did that first fight with him as 9S, I figured it's fitting to do this last quest as A2. In the desert, again at level 99, this is a souped up, even more batshit insane version of the fight that taught you about B mode as A2, with projectiles just everywhere at all times. Item spam was the only thing that managed to keep me alive here, and all throughout, the Emil clones are just screaming into the void about how lonely their existence has been, how they've got nothing in the world, and how they want someone, anyone, to feel the pain of an agonizingly long life of war and loss. The last segment is a self-destruct sequence, which you have to let happen for the Covenant ending Y, but stopping them lets you have one final chat with Emil, who's seemed to have regained most of his memories. The important ones, anyway, of his treasured time with Kaine, Weiss, and Nier. Due to this, it's my personal headcanon that the Emil we've been interacting with is indeed the original one, seeing as there's nothing that really points to it not being able to be the case as far as I know. And given her resemblance to his best friend, I just felt it was right to have A2 by his side in his last moments, finally at peace. Before I cover the final ending, I figured, do you know what? I've gone this far. I might as well play 100% the game. So I did a handful of things off screen, including the combat arenas, which I forgot were actually DLC, but come built in with the vast majority of ways you can get Nier Automata nowadays, so They weren't much to write home about, but my favourite parts were the dialogue between matches, honestly, especially in the Flooded Coast one, including them using this captivating music piece in the final Coliseum match that I don't think I've ever heard before, and I don't think is used anywhere else in the game. Also, there's that person who talks like the merchant from Resident Evil 4 in the Flooded Coast, and there's the boss fight with the Square Enix and Platinum CEOs, so there you go. But on the topics of achievements, Nier Automata has something I don't think I've ever seen in a game before. By finishing ending C or D, the help guide woman at the camp will just let you buy them. Thankfully, it's in-game currency, granted it costs a good chunk of money for it, but you can do it, and just thankful it's not any sort of microtransaction bullshit. Yeah, there's not really much else to say on that. I just found the concept of buying an achievement with, like, your in-game money really surprising. Kind of funny. The only ones I can remember going out of my way to buy is the Recovering Android Bodies one and the Upgrading All Pods, because for some reason their materials to upgrade are just really fucking annoying to find and I couldn't be bothered. Oh, and one last thing real quick. There's the Mysterious Letters / Mysterious Invitation side quests, where you get your in-game inbox spammed with random strings of numbers and letters, which I'm almost definite is going to be like some sort of, I don't know if it's called a hexadecimal code or a cipher code, but I don't know. It's a bunch of numbers and letters that you can translate into, like, an actual sentence. They eventually give you the coordinates to a secret basement at the amusement park, and here you can watch the life of a machine named Play-Doh 1728, who performed below average in every regard, and eventually grew to care for a doll that he found, and after an event where the place he stored his doll was engulfed in flames, he snapped and destroyed every machine and android there alike. Then it plays a music video, which I believe is all about the sentient, non-violent machines' anguish at the role they find themselves in, and the wish to go back to being heartless, unthinking creatures, as the pain of losing something they love is too much to bear. That's fun. Song's a bit of a tune as well, like. But that's enough side stuff, and I'm picking A2 this go-around. It goes about as well for 9S as you'd expect. I mean, considering she's a battle-hardened android built specifically for combat. Not that 9S hasn't been through it, just fighting obviously isn't his forte, he's a scanner. Him getting demolished unless he can get some clutch hacks off sounds about how this fight would go. Granted, he does try to hack you throughout the fight, so I'm glad that that bit of in-game continuity is there. After beating him with the help of Pod, A2 hacks into him, removing the logic virus infecting him and having Pod 042 carry him to safety, destroying the tower and sacrificing herself to give us ending C, meaningless code. Before we can get to the last missing ending, as I like to do in these videos, I'd like to go over some of my favourite weapon stories featured in Nier Automata. Type 3 Sword. The craftsman's weapons were neither flashy nor attractive, but they never once failed in battle. This reliability afforded him a never-ending stream of loyal clients. But something nagged at the craftsman. Though he'd forged many a weapon, he'd only tested them on pigs and cows. He wondered what it might feel like to use them on another human being. The craftsman took a sword to a battlefield and slashed at corpses, disappointed at how easily the sword slid through them. It wasn't satisfying at all. He wanted to really feel like he was ripping through flesh. The craftsman modified a sword in search of that feeling, not thinking at all of the pain it would cause, until one night, a bandit broke into his home, snatched the weapon up, and showed him exactly how effective it was. I like how the story has a sense of karmic justice to it. He was initially just doing his job, but as soon as his thoughts turned to sadistically maiming people, he's instantly punished for it. Virtuous Contract. How long can I fight amidst this bloody vortex of a battlefield? How long, I wonder? How long can I continue to protect what I love amidst this endless war? How long, I wonder? How long can I continue to believe in a world laden with deceit and folly? How long, I wonder? How long can I lie to myself as I despair at the dark future of this world? How long, I wonder? Any weapon stories that go over the thoughts of the characters tend to be my favourite, and 2B's sword is no exception. Cruel Oath. Once, long ago, there was a group of 7 boys who were born in the same village. Though they were not brothers by blood, they treated each other as family. One cold night, a fortune teller appeared and warned of a traitor among them. The boys laughed it off and went about their business, but the next morning, one of them lay dead. With each passing night, another boy died. The survivors grew more and more suspicious of each other, each harbouring terrible doubts about what happened to their brothers. On the morning of the 7th day, a single survivor stood tall. Cleaning the blood from his hands, he chuckled to himself. Better go find the traitor. Interestingly, they used 9S's sword to have a brief summary of the plot of the spin-off Yoha Boys, a prequel that goes over why Yoha no longer has male androids in squads since infighting became extremely common. Phoenix Dagger. The girl lay there on the day of her wedding. Her parents and beloved were dead, and she herself had been violated in front of their corpses. As she swore to kill those who had done this terrible deed, a shining songbird appeared. "Allow me to grant your wish," said the bird. "Wish upon this dagger, and never forget this hatred that you feel." The girl grasped the weapon and spat out a tearful curse. "I vow not to forget. Please, give them a painful death." Time passed, and eventually, she got her revenge. Years later, when she was an old woman, the songbird appeared anew. "What of your vow?" it asked. But she did not understand, and, come to think of it, what became of her beloved dagger? That night, bandits broke into her house, assaulted her daughter, and murdered her grandchildren. The songbird then reappeared with a single question. "How long will your hatred burn this time?" I like this story on 2 levels. Yes, it's a story about someone forgetting the lessons of the past, but it also feels like a microcosm of the cyclical nature of the Nier/Drakengard timeline. Iron Pipe. "Dad, I can give you my heart. You're the best father in the world, after all." "Dad, if you're hungry, you can have my cookie. You're my favourite person in the world, after all." "Dad, if you're scared, I can sleep by your side. You're my closest friend in the world, after all. So please, don't go anywhere. Alright, Dad? Don't leave your Yona all alone, okay?" Any reference to the OG Nier will make me happy. I imagine if the game was being made now, they'd replace Dad with Big Brother, but given Automata was made when the Gestalt Nier was the only one available in the West, it makes sense to have made this change. Type 40 Blade. Development Journal, 4th of May. Taraka. I've come up with an incredible idea, something no one has ever done before. I'm going to start testing it out first thing in the morning. Development Journal, 4th of July. Taraka. The boss turned down my idea of infusing metallic alloys with magical elements. Thrice damned fool. Doesn't he see how much money we could make from this? Development Journal, 1st of December. Taraka. Things aren't going well. My hair is falling out. I think it's the stress. I've got to find a way to make this project succeed. And soon. Development Journal, 15th of December. Fujita. I looked over the data, but couldn't work out the problem. I'm not giving up though. With Taraka dead, it's up to me. I'm the only one who can carry on his work. I'm not 100% sure if this is correct, but I theorize this story takes place during the time of fighting Legion and creating a cure for white chlorination syndrome, though that's obviously not what the story is about. Even in desperate times, humans will still try and find a way to make profit off of dire circumstances. I'll be reading these 2 weapon stories back to back since they connect with each other, being Virtuous Treaty and Cruel Blood Oath. First encounter with my lover. Failed to connect with my lover. Far away went my lover. With death went my lover to eternity. I'll never forget the time we met. I knew ours was a love that would last for eternity. But even when by his side, his feelings were a mystery. It was painful not to know what he was thinking. So painful. When I was close, I hurt him, yet being distant hurt him even more. I finally found my place, a place where I am as close as possible, yet eternally distant. This is absolutely 2B and 9S's thoughts of their repeating relationship. I imagine the former is the final thoughts of the original number 9 being slain by 2B for the first time, and the latter is what's on 2B's mind pretty much constantly. Dragoonlance. I had a dream about the day we met. He was small, he was insignificant, he was weak. Yet he hated the world just as I did. I decided to aid him, and he did the same for me. Thus was our friendship born. It wasn't perfect, of course. Mistakes were made along the way. Still, we remained friends. The blue wind that caresses these grasslands has a pleasant scent. I bring my cheek to his, and he twitches, almost as if tickled. Then I spread my wings and let him ride me into the skies above. It's always nice to have Drakengard representation, and I'm certain this is Angelus's thoughts on her bond with Kaim. Virtuous dignity. The elegant white spear was crafted by a tyrant as a gift for his wife, whose parents he had killed years earlier. She slipped it under the bed they shared, then later used it to run him through 30 times. The spear's second owner was a courageous bandit fighting Mare. In her later years, her strength faded, until one night a pack of young thugs surrounded her and took all she had, including her life. The third owner was a greedy merchant who lived to swindle customers. Soon, she found herself shunned and penniless, and so decided to hang herself. The unused spear rested in a corner of her home as a decoration. The fourth owner was a meek, young man who wanted to aid his sickly younger sister. He gave all to this cause, including his very existence, and that of all else in the world. I like to think that this goes over the history of the weapon's owners, including Nier, but this made me think, I wouldn't call Dad Nier meek or young. No offense. We know that the Nier/Drakengard universe has multiple timelines, and I think it's been said both Gestalt and Replicant are canon, so I guess ultimately I like both versions of the character getting a little shout out. So those who commented about the Iron Pipe, chill out. I know Dad Nier is also in his own canon. Cruel arrogance. The dark, hideous lance was crafted by a beautiful female artisan. As people far and wide praised its design, the artisan's apprentice grew jealous and slew her, the lance itself soon vanishing into the mists of time. The lance's second owner was a puppeteer who crafted a clockwork doll capable of doing nearly everything. When he put the lance in the doll's hand, she lashed out and pierced the puppeteer's skull right between the eyes. The third owner was an infant prince who was gifted the lance by the Queen Regent. She died soon thereafter, and on the night of her funeral, the lance vanished from the infant's room, leaving behind only a tiny corpse in the crib. The fourth owner was a simple, honest man who wanted to aid his sickly daughter. He gave all to this cause, including his very existence and that of all else in the world. Well yeah, I guess that confirms the multiple timelines all being canon thing I went over, so cool. Machine Spear. My name is Plato1728. I am a failure of a machine. I was designed for combat, but I can't use weapons. Everyone makes fun of me, and my life is horrible. I am a dumb machine. I got lost during battle and ended up in some kind of factory. I found a whole pile of dolls discarded there. They share the same fate I do. I am a foolish machine. Today, I had to fight at that factory. All of the dolls got completely destroyed, crushed by my friends and foes, who can do nothing but fight, fight, fight. I activated my cannon and shot everyone there. I'm not sure why I did that. All I know is I decided to fight. Because I'm just a stupid, broken machine. This just goes over Plato's story that we saw in the main game in the music video, but I had to shout this weapon story out because I just feel for the little guy. Machine heads. I lack parts. I am useless. My existence is unnecessary. I tried so hard, Mummy. Given that these are the destroyed parts of Pascal's villages he sells to you if you decide to delete his memory, this one just cuts deep from second one. Like, why did you make it a baby one? Like, come on. And finally, Emil heads. 2nd of September, 12422. I confirmed that the machine lifeforms released by the aliens have reconstructed their network. I've started to see units with gravity controlling capabilities again as well. 15th of October, 12422. I was spawned about a week ago, so I don't have clear recollections of anything before that. Say, I wonder where the original disappeared to all those millennia ago. 14th of December, 12422. I confirmed that the 25th one born after me has stopped his biological activity. Although we're technically immortal since we can respawn indefinitely and all, we're still not exempt from death. 19th of January, 12423. Our memories are only copies, so they're pretty vague. That android wearing black, I have the feeling I've met her before. She had a complicated look on her face, but I can't remember anything. So clearing ending C or D after having completed the other one will have the pods interrupt the credits. With all the black boxes now offline, they are now supposed to delete all data on Project Yoha. However, Pod 042, the one who's been with 2B and later A2, has a sudden change of heart, despite the pods having meant to be incapable of such a thing. As best as he can, he pleads with 9S's pod 153, to recognise that they also wanted the androids to survive, and you're thrust into the shoot-em-up segment against the credits themselves. I'm not sure if you're even capable of finishing this without getting hit, but it will happen at some point, at which point the game will directly ask the player questions. If you want to give up, if things like games are stupid and pointless, but struggling through will eventually prompt you with a choice of receiving help from a random player. Select yes, and more crafts and encouraging messages will join you, all the while the credits theme, Weight of the World, blasts in the background until you emerge victorious. Afterwards, Pod 042 will ask if you want to give up your data to help a struggling player to clear the final section, at the cost of erasing your save file. You're completely free to say no, but I personally feel like it goes against the heartwarming sense of cooperation the final sequence helped to create, and it's not often you get a happy ending in a Yoko Taro title, so be nice. Plus, that ending credits section, Weight of the World doing the heavy lifting of making it so emotional, you've gotta say yes, really. After your save is gone, Pod 153 has a more positive spin to 2B's initial monologue, showing the pods discussing their newfound sentience and
Pod 153 to Pod 042. How is it going?
I am embarrassed.
Why is that?
I launched a suicide attack, and yet, here I am, still alive. I must look very silly.
Do not feel bad about it. We are alive, after all. And being alive is pretty much a constant stream of embarrassment.
That concept is a bit too abstract for me to understand at this time. I will save it in my list of...
You know what, they're picking up this whole life thing pretty quickly, honestly. But they discuss if events will play out the same, and while Pod 042 can't rule this out, he states there's an equally likely chance the future build will be a joyous one, with it showing 2B, 9S, and A2, passed out and in need of repairs, but alive and hopefully well. Don't fret too much about the wipe save data though, as if you go to the starting area after defeating the big saw arm as 2B, going in between these barrels, pausing on the pod menu and holding R2 while pressing up, down, up, right, and then left on the D-pad, then square, circle, triangle, and X, you'll instantly unlock character select and debug mode. Granted, it won't bring your old save back, but it makes going to specific spots and getting gear a lot easier. This was a secret discovered by the YouTuber I mentioned a while back, Lance McDonald, years after the release of the game, and this was confirmed by Yoko Taro himself, that this was the one thing players didn't find at that point. It may not be a secret church that further ties Automata to the stories of Nier Replicant and Drakengard 3, but it's still pretty darn neat. Whilst as an overall experience, I do prefer Nier Replicant since I just happen to resonate with that cast more, it's undeniable that Nier Automata is a very special game. The combat by Prime Platinum Studios is elite, the best gameplay in a Yoko Taro game today, and it's not even close, and the sheer amount of meaningful experiences to uncover both in the main story and tucked away in the corners of the world. It's no wonder that this game broke into the mainstream, at the time of recording having sold over 10 million copies, and with the recent announcement that Nier Automata will continue, whether it's the cast we know or a brand new set of characters, I cannot wait for the next thing that Yoko Taro and co cooks up. I know that we've had Nier Incarnation, but with that being a mobile title that's no longer in service, don't get me wrong, I like what I've heard about the narrative, but the only way anyone can experience that now is researching online. I'm glad that the storytelling spark is still well and truly there, but for me, the next full-blown console title from this universe cannot come soon enough. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and comment your thoughts about Nier Automata and the rest of the series. As I mentioned before, I don't know what I can really do next for Nier videos because all the games are done and I can't play Reincarnation because it's a mobile game that ended its run now, which is a shame because the lore in that was so fucking cool, like genuinely. I think that was the thing that really confirmed the time loop theories. I may do a Drakengard / Nier Iceberg if people wanted enough, so yeah, please thingy in the comments if you guys want to see that, because there's loads of in-between bits that haven't been explored. In terms of, like, the next Nier game, I would really, really like something set right after White Chlorination Syndrome sets in. Like, a game about fighting Legion would be sick. But that Nier Automata will continue announcement, that really could be anything from a brand new game to another fucking stage play. So I hope it does mean we're getting another Nier game. I know that Yoko Taro had that interview where he said that he's been working on a lot of titles, but just happened to have been cancelled, which is a massive shame, but it doesn't surprise me, unfortunately. But, this is a very, very special series, both Nier and Drakengard, and I think it would be silly not to see more of it. But yeah, thank you for watching again, hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.